And we're on. All right, guys, welcome to Wealth Cartel Season 2. This is episode 1. We don't know how this is going to go. It's been a bit of a while between drinks. But just to remind anyone that doesn't remember or is new to the viewing, our mission here is to stop people saying, I wish I'd listened, and to help people capitalize on everyone else's mistakes before making them themselves. So in summary, our tagline is turn our hindsight into your foresight, to use everyone else's experience to the benefit. Who we are, so I'm Kingy, Ryan, from the West and Central Coast. Grew up that way. I'm a financial planner. I got my own business, Three Kings, and I like to lift and hit a little white ball around the course every now and then, and that's pretty much me. And then we've got our other partner here.
Hey, I'm Akko. I'm part of a conglomerative group that owns 9 Penile Picassos in Sydney, as well as an aspiring Ryan King personnel weightlifter. I like to be just like Wayne. I want to be like Ryan.
Wayne. You like that word conglomerate lately, eh?
Yeah, it's because I can say it now.
I swear the rose between two thorns here. We've got Dani. So I'll try and say, so it's Danielle Antonellos. Is that right?
Perfect. You nailed it.
And I'll let her intro herself in a second, but I'll give a quick intro. So Dani is she's the queen of lifting, strength, nutrition, or health in general for females, I believe. Her and another girl, Sherelle, have a podcast called Level Up, and Dani runs, and it's Dr Dani, isn't it? You're a doctor.
I am, yes.
It's doctor, which is hectic. But I found Dani through Andrew Locke, which a lot of you guys know that, who I found through Sebastian Oro, who has changed my life significantly on the rehab side. And that's how I found Dani. And Dani is phenomenal in what she does. Her content is amazing. If you're anyone, like even as a male, I like following her stuff. She's genius. But especially if you're a female, I think you're crazy if you're not following Dani. So Dani, welcome to the podcast. How are you?
Thank you so much. It's awesome to be here and really cool to be on the other side of a podcast for once. I love it. I'm pumped.
Yeah, well, don't forget us next time you're looking for people to come on yours, huh?
Absolutely, we can reverse the roles for sure.
The level of conversation they have on Level Up, I think we'd be left out.
Only if you're comfortable talking about hormones and women's health and all those things.
Especially now that we're both sober, we might not feel comfortable in that situation.
We can make it as fun as you need.
Yeah, that's right. So, Dani, we're going to get straight into it. First thing we'll start with is, do you want to give us your intro of yourself, who you are? So cover off, who you are, where you're from, where you grew up, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, for sure. So I am an osteopath, but I do a lot. So I'm not your standard osteopath. Like you guys, I love lifting, and I think it's very important for all of us to stay active and lift heavy shit, to be honest, for our health and well-being. So that's what separates me as an osteopath. I'm a WBFF Bikini Pro athlete as well. I run seminars with Dr. Andrew Locke, who you mentioned earlier. And I'm an online coach and face-to-face mentor as well. So there's a lot of things that I do under my umbrella. I love keeping busy. So that's me. And I love how we're all connected, like so many people that you found me through who I work with. That's what it's about, just keeping connected with people who align with your values. So that's me.
Yeah, 100%. And just so you know, Dan, Dani lives bigger than you too.
Just so I just want to make a point clear too, where we discuss how it's like we all like lifting. I like lifting in short bursts, like 2-week stints. So I just have to keep it real here. I can't pretend to be like you two and do that sort of stuff. But in that sense, I'm lifting 80% of Ryan's max, and I only train for 2 weeks at a time. So we'll be all right.
80%. Hey, are you talking about our warm-ups? I have to actually wait till Akko finishes his set before I can start warming up.
Oh no!
I'm going to start rapping.
Yeah, I'm just still getting used to being so itchy every morning from the fucking pre-workout. That's the part that's killing me at the moment. I feel like I've had a big bender last night at the moment. I don't know. That pre-workout's killing me, eh?
Some of them really, you get tingly all over your whole body. It's crazy.
Yeah, especially when you're doing, like I noticed today we're doing squats, and I felt more itchy because I was working more of my body. I was like, I just felt like I had ants crawling on me. I don't know what was going on.
So Dani, obviously, Akko comes from the footy lifter background, right? So you classic go in for a bodybuilder and split, a bit of a superset, and I've got him finally change his mindset to come in and focus on technique. And we start with a compound at the start, and then we work on a few accessories with a bit of volume after it. And we're 2 or 3 weeks in now, and it's the fundamental change in his his lifting and his mindset around lifting, just technique wise and everything, is amazing. It's phenomenal, and he's really enjoying it. It's really good. You'd actually really enjoy watching him.
There you go.
I come from a background, Danielle, where I used to just train for all year and then diet for 10 weeks into Stereosonic. That's sort of...
yes, bring back Stereosonic. Seriously, that was my life.
That was, oh man, that's what I sort of did. And, now I'm one of those people that looks back at my old self and goes, bro, what the fuck? Used to diet for a music festival that you're going to be twisted for 4 days, and I couldn't be happy with the change. Yeah, I don't know if I'd go back. I'm not sure I'd go back. A lot of people say take me back to when I was 21. I don't. Not me. I'm a much better person now. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yes. Depends who you are.
So yeah. So in regards to osteopath, give us a bit of a rundown. Osteopath. Osteo means
bone. But the name is very misleading, because as an osteopath, we look at the body as a whole. So everything, muscles, ligaments, nerves, mindset, mental health, everything. So the name is it puts us in a box. But now all the health practitioners, whether you're an osteo, physio, chiro, we're all kind of merging into one, which is really cool. Due to the beauty of social media, we're able to educate each other, learn from one another. So it's not just like, oh, physios are better than osteos and osteos are better than chiros. It's like,
I love that. That's happening in a lot of industries. That's one of those things now where now that there are all these mentors out there overseas, and now that there are people releasing books on education, and there are certain people collaborating together, it's one of the things now where if you can learn to become an osteo, you can understand a physio, and they used to collide. I know my wife's the same. My wife's a beauty tech, and I know that previously in the beauty world, they would fight over who would do what client and now they're all lifting each other up, and one person's teaching the other person what to do. So I feel like that's part of society in today's day and age. I feel like entrepreneurs really set the tone there, where they started collaborating, and influencers as well. I'm not a big fan of social media influencers, Ryan will tell you, because I've had my fair share of problems with them. But I feel like they really opened the door to collabs. What they did was like they brought two people together that did something completely different, or along the lines of they would generally compete. And what we see now is everyone collaborates and lifts each other up, which is great.
Yeah, very well said. And that's so true. And I think the patients or clients are getting better informed and educated as well. So rather than going for someone with a title, you're able to stalk your practitioner for a good 6 months before you kind of reach out. So rather than looking for the title, you kind of look for, okay, who is aligned with my values and who can help me in a way that I want, rather than I got to go see an osteo type thing.
I actually couldn't agree more. I see this chiro in America. I'm nearly ready to drive. I'm nearly ready to drive or fly to America to get my back cracked by this dude. I was there on Instagram. It's cool.
Is he the one that does the zinger? He is in Texas. He's a big white fella.
Nah,
he pulls the string around your neck and then pops you.
Yeah, that one. That dude. I wanted to pull my head off my shoulders. I want that to happen.
Danny's having an anxiety attack over there. She's like,
good luck. You won't be flying back.
Even there's heaps of the UFC stars. There's a Bo Highwater or Hightower. He's the big physio over there, or chiro at the moment, that works with all the UFC stars and stuff. And he does it as well. He started to take on that sort of stuff, and he's like a very high profile, very, very high profile chiro or physio. It's crazy.
Yeah, I used to do all that. Naturally, as an osteopath, it's 5 years university of hands-on work only. All of the things that I do now, I did not learn in uni. That's when people come to me, they're like, Dani, I see what you do. I've signed up to be an osteo. And I'm like, good luck. You're not going to learn anything that I do. Enjoy your 5 years.
That'll get you in the door. That'll get you in the door to a job, and that's about it, right?
Yeah, so I don't do any of the cracking and manipulations and hands-on anymore. It's purely exercise rehab. I mean, it feels good at the time to get things cracked and moved, but then it's about looking long-term. Okay, why does that need cracking in the first place? Which movement patterns need addressing for the long term?
That's what I go wrong. So I started seeing, I got referred to, can't remember his name. He's in King's Cross. He's like one of the KC Chiro. So those boys, have you ever heard of him?
Nah, I'm still learning the area. I'm still
so it's not far from you, just down the road. And he does a lot of the athletes, and he's really good. And he's really highly, he's like Australia's CrossFit team and stuff. He's like their chiro and stuff. And
Yep.
I started going to him because I recommend he's the best. And he's a gun, right? He's a gun. But I stopped going to him because I'm such a lazy piece of shit. His theory is off the table on the floor, right? So less work on the table, more work on the gym floor. Like exactly you're saying, exercise.
I like it.
And I'm like, yeah, great. But I get it. And I'm all jacked up, right? Like I'm all twisted up because I got everything under the sun wrong with me. And I get on the floor and he's like, I've got to do these exercises to get me good. And I'm like, nah, I ain't doing it. Someone just touch me a bit. Like I need some immediate out. But then when I start going, I'm happy to do the floor work, but can I get some immediate relief first? Because otherwise I'm not going to do the floor work, right? And I got to find that balance because realistically, if someone's not going to do the work, and that's on them, and that's me.
Yeah.
Like I had to be realistic with myself. I was like, I'm lazy, bro.
I just cancelled my last. I got a couple of physios coming up, and I accidentally didn't show up to them because I knew they were strength and conditioning one. Because I was doing
cheeky.
I was doing like 6 weeks of physio, and it was unreal. And he was like massaging me. He was like, "Oh, your glutes don't activate, so we're gonna massage them." I was like, "Yeah, that's mad. No worries." 6 weeks in, and then he goes, "All right, next Monday we're doing a strength and conditioning." And I was thinking, "Fuck me dead." I deadlifted my whole body weight this morning. I'm not hanging out with you for you to tell me to do more strength. Although he's probably a lot smarter than me. I freaked out.
Danny's hating this. Danny's going, these guys.
Oh, but
I don't know how to handle this.
She probably deals with this all the time.
How to handle us, Danny, is you say it straight. That's what this podcast
I'd say it straight. They don't even get the chance to book in with me if they're not going to do the work. They can go to someone else who's going to put up with their shit.
Is that a common thing in regards to people really looking for that placebo as opposed to the real fix? Because I find a lot of society today is about placebo. Like I know different people that are physios that say massage therapists, although don't get me wrong, we're not telling you massage therapists don't work, but they're highly strung placebos too. Like you go to a massage therapist, you feel better, you walk out of there 3 days later, you're like, fuck, where's that massage therapist again? Yeah. Whereas and that's my type of thing. I'm like, let's go feel better right now.
Yeah.
I think Ryan's a little bit similar on that sense, but if you were to talk to him about money and talk to him about a quick fix in money, his mindset would be different. So I feel like in your profession, you're looking at it like, well, who cares about the quick fix now? Let's get you better for good. And that's what he does in his profession as well.
Yeah.
Except, it's a little bit harder when you have to actually get off your ass.
That's exactly why I went to that chiro, was because I thought, shit, I'm backpedaling on what I say here,
Yeah.
But enough about us. Back to you, Danny. Tell us 3 things that are interesting to know about. Before we get started a bit more into depth of stuff, tell us 3 things or a couple of things that are interesting about yourself that people might know or might not know that sets you apart.
Well, I think the things about me now are quite obvious. I put a lot on social media, but I suppose because we're going to talk about hindsight a lot, I never thought that I'd be in this position where I was today. I remember in school, I was always sitting at the back of the classroom, not with the cool kids, always hoping that no one would ever look at me or talk to me because I was that bloody shy. And that's what made me though, because I didn't really have that many friends. So I spent a lot of time reading books and getting good grades, which would give me like reward from my parents. And I used that to fuel me. Oh, okay, this is how I become liked. If I read lots of books, if I get good marks, and I would just sort of hope that no one would really talk to me. So I always pride myself on that because I was that kid who would get bullied, called a nerd, and like never get invited to things. And now like all my bullies kind of come to me for advice, and not that it's to spite anyone, but it's just always a little bit, but it's just always kept me humble, I'm like, yes, the good guys always win. So yeah, I was such a shy kid. I take some of those traits with me still a little bit. I mean, I don't really switch off often now because I'm always on the go, but sometimes the only thing that gets me to switch off is to bring out the Nintendo Switch or the GameCube and just play a little bit of Mario Kart every now and then. That's one random thing that I don't really tell many people about.
Really? Bit of Mario Kart fan?
I love
I can't
it.
play Mario. I suck on the Switch. I'm a PlayStation boy. Yeah, I'm a PlayStation boy.
COD or?
Yeah, a bit of COD, a bit of Battlefield, a bit of Tiger Woods PGA when I can't get on the golf course.
Yeah, there you go. But yeah, it's more just those kinds of things that not many people know. I feel like I'm quite, transparent with what I put on social media at the moment. A lot of people know everything that I'm doing. So they're kind of the hidden things. So go.
I
the
like that.
nerds.
That's really interesting because I'm a bit similar. Like I was the nerd of the cool group. Like I was always really smart, but I played footy. No, shut up, man. I'll slap you.
Still a
And
fucking
then
still a nerd.
I am a nerd, right? And I was the same. And so I used to float around school. I used to hang out with the smart kids, and I used to hang out with the fobs. I hang out with the jocks, and did sort of whatever. And now all of them sort of still talk to me and come in. And it's funny to see where that school environment got people. You know how what they were positioned in at school predetermined a lot of them where they were going to end up. You know, it's a crazy little reflection piece that we can see.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
You know what's nuts too on that as well is you got people that went the other way as well. Like you had people who that, you know, the footballers though, you're like they're guns. They're going to be NRL players, and then you had like these dudes who were really coordinated, and they're going to be unbelievable. And then they didn't persevere. They didn't do what they did. And then you had other people who you sort of knew were always the hard workers in the room, but they didn't have as much talent. They weren't as cool. And now you look at them, you're like, yeah, that there was some work in behind that. You could just tell. Now looking back in hindsight, you could always tell based off of their attitude how they were going to go. Like me and my kids play this game. We talk about it quite a bit. Ryan, I don't know if Ryan's a fan of it, but we play this game called the $1 Million Game.
Okay.
We go through McDonald's, and based off of how the person treats us at McDonald's, we decide whether or not we feel like they will be a millionaire based off of their attitude and how nice they treat you.
Yeah.
So we play that quite a bit, mainly because I want to teach my kids that regardless of whether you and I'm not saying McDonald's is a lower economic job. I'm saying like people from Macca's can evolve, and that's where you learn your trade. I try to teach my kids that whether you're working at Bunnings, McDonald's, or you're a CEO, if you're not nice to people and you don't have that persona about you where you're likable, it's going to be very hard to be successful. We do have to change the name of it because the $1 Million Game used to be, obviously that's about money. I want to try and teach my kids about success as opposed to money these days. But that's something, the wealth game, or the happiness game, the happiness game.
That's nice. I like that. And it's so true, whether you're working at McDonald's, whether you're, as you said, a CEO or a cleaner, you can sense people's passion. Like everything that you do should have that passion, you know, whether you're scrubbing the damn floors of your gym. I remember I started out cleaning treadmills, like as you do when you're new to a gym. This was before Instagram, before social media. I would just clean dust off the ground, pick up people's shit, but I did it with passion and intent, and always made sure that my employer at the time would always see my work ethic, or potential clients would see how, you know, passionately I was cleaning that treadmill. And those traits you learn from such a young age, and they do carry into everything that you do. So people think once you reach the top, or what their version of the top is, then you start to enjoy things. Well, no, that'll be a very sad life. You have to enjoy everything that you're doing.
Even if you don't like it, do it like you love it, right?
Couldn't agree more. Or find a way to like it, yeah? Like that's what I find. I didn't generally like going to the gym. I like that. I was like, I'm not enjoying it. And then Ryan was like, you have to find a way to enjoy what you're doing. You have to find a way, regardless of whether it's still hard to get out of bed, you've got to find a way to enjoy it. So I'm a numbers person. I think he figured out pretty quickly if I stopped trying to look for results and I started chasing numbers, like I can't be beat. I don't like people beating me at anything. I'm heaps competitive with myself and everyone else. So he was like, all right, here's your numbers. Here's where you're going to start. Now you're like racing against yourself, or essentially competing against yourself. And in the back of my head, I'm like, I can't be beat. So I'm enjoying the competitive nature of the gym as opposed to just going to the gym. And then I feel like that's such a strong part of business. And I feel like with my businesses, you know, I'm a plasterer, a builder by trade. I never really enjoyed being a plasterer, but I really enjoyed giving someone a house to live in. I hated the fact that I had to get out of bed at 5 o'clock every morning, travel across Sydney to swing a hammer, which was a hard physical job. But I love the fact that I could have 3 or 4 tradesmen beneath me, as well as have a couple of kids work for me, and essentially give their family a house to live under based off of what I did in my business. So I feel like that's a big part of society's issue, is that they're not finding the good in the bad and the positive in the negative. Not everyone loves what they do. Not everyone wants to get out of bed at 4 a.m. and go to the gym. But if you're going to the gym to teach people how to be healthy, that's your positive. I feel like there's always a positive in a negative, and today's society just needs to find it, you know?
Yeah. Perspective, right? That was awesome. That was so cool.
But you'd see that all the time, Danielle. That's what I said. Dan comes to me with when we start training with all these, and I used to do it too. You know, someone always comes to you with a story their friend told them, this is how I lost weight, or this is how I did this, and they're like, that's what I've got to do. And you're like, do you? But like, that's what worked for them, you know. And I said to Dan,
Yes.
the first thing we'll do, bro, is if it doesn't matter how good the program or diet is, if you don't do it, it's worth jack shit, right? So, and I said, Dan, let's just focus on getting you to the gym and having fun. Let's just focus that first, and then work on it from there. And because that's what happened to me, right? I was telling you before the podcast, Danny, like post army, I had no purpose to get up and train anymore. There was no reason for it.
Yeah.
So I had to switch from the kind of style of trainer I was to, the only reason I switched to powerlifting was because I enjoy it. It gets me to the gym every day, and that's more important than...
Because it's an excuse to be fat. Stop lying. It's an excuse to be overweight.
That's thick.
That's definitely both of our excuse now. It's like, hey, what do you do in the gym now? I lift heavy weights, bro, for less reps because
but my numbers reflect it. I can cop it. I'm thick and have good numbers, right? I'm thick with good numbers.
I remember he was saying to me, we were having a chat, and he was saying to me, you know, like, I'm enjoying the gym again. I'm really loving the powerlifting side of things. And I was like, oh, yeah. And I was sort of looking at him, and I was like, yeah, he's starting to shape up. And you could see it, but I'm not going to give him a bigger head than he's already got. So I'm not going to say nothing. And then I come in and train the first time, and he was training bench, and he had loaded up like 160 on the bar. And I was thinking, fuck, man, I used to gear through my head at 25 years old and train with all the big boys, and I never lifted 160. I like bench 140, not do it properly. And I was thinking, he's going to drop it. He's going to drop it. And everyone else in the gym's looking at him. And I think he pressed 160 for 5 or 6 good reps. And I was like,
fantastic.
What the fuck? But it wasn't the weight. It was more so like, he didn't want to spot. He wasn't fussed on what everyone else was doing. And that in my mind was like, well, when I used, like being honest, when I used to train, I used to load those weights up heavy so people knew what I was lifting. Everyone else around seen it. You were loud. It was arrogance. And it's, I think like one of the things I'm noticing a lot about the people that are actually getting success, the people that are getting results, they don't really give a fuck about the person next to them. They couldn't care about that. They put their own weights away. We were discussing it the other day. Ryan said a good measure of strength in a person is how they put their weights away. Like if they can pick it up comfortably and put that weight away, it's generally, you know, in his mind, he's like, that's a long way towards what you're actually doing and your mindset in the gym. You see people squat 200 kilos, leave the squat bar there and then leave and expect someone else to put it away for them. And in a mindset, it's like, it's just all wrong, you know?
Yeah, for sure. And that's just like, it rolls off habits, you know, they're probably the people who don't make their bed or they leave shit out, like, and they just, you know, want to have people look at them, give them that validation and then someone else can do the job. But anything, whether it's in the gym or whether it's, you know, around the house, like all these habits stack up and make you. And I'm so big on that. I always wake up, make the bed. Like maybe it's a little bit, you know, OCD, but I find that it works, man. Like you can't, a little bit, but they're just the habits. Well, you've been in the military. I'm sure you would have had to do all things like that as well and set your rituals and things that you do. But I'm so big on habits and rituals. And then also not caring what other people think, which is so hard to do. But what I find is a lot of people try and mimic other people. And yes, that can give you success in the form of mentors and things like that. However, if you're to truly stand out, you can't do what anyone else has done. So that's sort of been my mission for a while now. Okay, I've learned from so many cool people and mentors and picked their brains, but then now it's up to me to become something different. And that's what I feel like I'm slowly being able to bring out now.
Yeah, brilliant. Just to round out the intro to you so we can move on to the wealth stuff, Danny, and this one might go for a little bit, but I'm just cautious of time. But I think I want to know, you did mention in the things about, you know, how you grew up as a kid, right? So what I want to know from you, I want you to run into a little bit is sort of, you know, tell us where you grew up as a kid, whereabouts it was, and tell us a bit more about what it was like doing that, right? And what I want to know, the main part of the story that I want you to really dive into is tell us how that's hard, right? Like that is being not the cool kid and like peer pressure as a kid is so easy to succumb to. Like it's so easy to succumb to as an adult, right? But having that self-control or that discipline as a kid to keep pushing through what you think or what your parents are telling you is right and going there. I want to know, tell us a bit about that story and then tell us did your mindset really switch where you were like, I'm glad I did that. That's what I should be doing. I'm going to keep going. And how did that make you feel? You know what I mean? Like how was that mindset solidified in you that you were doing the right thing and this was all worth it, et cetera, et cetera?
Yeah, for sure. So before school started, I was a creative kid. I loved, I was more similar to who I am now, to be honest. More creative, making videos, singing, dancing, doing all that stuff. And then all of a sudden I got into the schooling system with other kids. And, you know, this is not to knock the schooling system, like it's brilliant. But for me and my personal experience, it wasn't the best. I mean, yeah, so I wasn't liked. I used to be liked when you're young, you get validation from your parents, you're whatever, and then you get in and everyone's just trying to compete with themselves. The girls were trying to get the attention of the guys trying to get attention of the girls. You know, all of a sudden we got marked like on our exams and it was all rankings and competition. And I was like, wow, okay. It was very eye-opening. But then I just stuck to what I was good at, and that was learning things, doing well on my tests. And again, because my parents didn't really finish high school, so they would praise me based on that. Oh, well done. You got an A on this paper. Well done. And they were fueling that. So I'm like, okay, this is my thing. If I can't, you know, hang out with all the boys, I'll just, you know, read my books and do all
Be
that.
validated elsewhere. Yeah,
I was validated elsewhere.
So cool. Yeah.
As kids, you know, you don't realize, like now I've, you know, studied my mind and human psychology. I didn't realize that I was just feeding off that validation through my grades. And then, so I thought, okay, this whole school thing, what's at the top of the rank of school? You need to get good grades, do all the hard subjects. I did chemistry, like extended maths. I did 0 PE classes or any sporting class, like literally all the hard ones, did well in that. And then I thought, okay, cool. I have to work in an office now. I need a 9-to-5 job because a CEO is success. And I just wanted to keep climbing this pyramid of what I thought success was, you know, your 9-to-5 job, being a manager in an office. I did work experience in an office. I did all the shitty jobs, stapling papers, filing things away, admin. And I'm like, this sucks. Like this, I hate everything about this. Why do people want this? I'm like, this is so depressing. Like my friends are off playing sport. Well, I did play sport, actually, as I got a little bit older. But when I was younger, I'm like, I'm not going to do the PE. I'm going to do maths because I'm going to be successful. And then I started to realize, nah, this is shit. I had more fun as a kid. What did I like doing as a kid? Playing sport. So then I started playing tennis. I ended up playing for 15 years. And I slowly was able to find myself and what I enjoyed and realized, well, I actually don't want to do all the things that I thought success meant. Started playing sport again. I joined at the gym, started being really active, and that made me feel good. That made me feel confident about my body. My mindset was better. I still love studying and I always will, but then that's how I got down that avenue. And when I went to my first fitness expo, that was like the most eye-opening experience. I was like, oh my God, this is a whole nother world. Who are all these people? I want to be like this. I want to do that. Long story short, got in contact with my coach for nutrition and training, and ended up
Still the same coach now?
Still the same coach now. Yeah. So I've been with Hattie for like 5 years, and she's a WBFF world champion.
Hattie Boyle?
Hattie Boydell. Yeah.
Yeah. She trains another chick that I know locally actually too.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. So I've been a part of her crew for a while, and slowly I was able to just mold out of that world that I was in to now sort of the fitness world, and becoming educated in that. And then I prepped for my first show. It was in 2016. And that's when I really just became me, like, because you put yourself out there in such a way, you're so vulnerable. Your mindset changes, because to get to a bodybuilding stage, you have to really just change your mindset. It's all mindset. Your habits change, your language change, who you hang around with changes. And then that was one of the biggest turning points for me, really. And that's why I'm so passionate about it now, because people look and say, oh, it's just chicks in sparkly bikinis. Well, no, this is a platform to allow you to become you as an individual. And yeah, I just haven't looked back since. And that's been my driving force, just being able to tap into that strong mindset and not caring what people think of you, and aligning with people who will, you know, help you out rather than try and bring you down. So that was a really big turning point.
So my
I
question to you on
see.
that front, go on.
Go, bro. Oh, you go. You go.
So first and foremost, you know what's funny? When I started following Sebastian, the reason I stopped bendering, this is the true story. The reason I stopped partying and started getting really back into my training, because of one day I saw Hattie squatting. She was squatting like 140, and I hadn't squatted in like 6 months, and I was like, holy fuck, Hattie can out squat me. I need to get back to training so I can start benching what Hattie squats as a minimum, and so I can double her squat.
Yeah,
And then and that's essentially was my whole thing. I saw her, she squatted like 140 for 5 or something one day, and I was like,
yeah,
I don't think I could do that. Now I can, easy, but at the time I was like, I have to change, I have to switch it up. This is not acceptable. But anyway, so what my question to you is on that front. So I got a lot of friends in the fitness industry, right? We've established that. And I grew up, especially in the army, I grew up a lot that were behind me on their journey, met me. And so I've never wanted to be a bodybuilder or a competitor in that sense. I do it for me and for my mental health, and my aspirations are other ways. But because of how I've been training since I was 15 at a pretty high level, and because of that, I had a lot of people that started training because of me, and then they fell in love with it as they do. They became PTs and they went down that track. And I've seen a lot of people, we've got to be completely frank here, there is quite a toxic trait in that industry, right? There is a lot of toxicity, like an industry, but that egotistical nature and, you know, the haters, plus on top of that, once you start getting a following, you know, starting to be a sellout, you know, using that, your ego and your that instead of using your platform for good, using it for bad. And I've seen a lot of that, right? So my question to you is, you've got your head screwed on, Dani. Like, you're doing some amazing things for the community and you've been all through that. How did you navigate through that?
Yeah, thank you. So Instagram was starting to evolve just when I was getting onto it. I mean, not many people had Instagram, and it wasn't a criteria. It's as if now you're a PT, you need to have an Instagram. Like, that was not a thing when I was growing up. So I did go through that.
You're showing your age now, Dani. Be careful.
No, I'm 30 next year, mate. It's all,
I've got you covered. I just turned 30 this year.
Good. Yeah, so
I'm still young.
We're all still young. So I did go through a little bit of that external validation, of course, again, being that nerdy kid no one ever looked at, and all of a sudden everyone's like, Dani, like, yes. And then I did feed into that. But again, I'm all about who I surround myself with. So I had another mentor, also called Dan, or Dan's everywhere, back in Melbourne, and he owned the gym, one of the first gyms that I worked at, and he had mindset courses, but not one of those courses where everyone thinks, oh, I'm a mindset coach. Like, he's the real deal. And he sort of took me under his wing, and I learned just how to master my mindset in a way that was not fueled by ego. I was always humble. And I just allowed myself to not get caught into that, because
was this from a spiritual or a cognitive sense?
Both. Really. Yeah. But I also started to read more books in a sense of being spiritual and open to things like that. I read a lot of Eckhart Tolle, you know, The Power of Now. And that was one of the first books that I ever read. And I'm like, what is this being present type thing? And I don't know, I just studied the mind a lot, and not from, a neuroscience point of view, which I've studied now, but just from recognizing there's more to this world than what we might seem. And we actually have the capability to create whatever life that we do want. And then once I recognized that, from the help of Dan, my mentor, I stopped worrying about everyone else. I go, I don't care what these people think of me and say. I've got a blank canvas here. I'm about to paint my own masterpiece, you know.
Me too.
I'm going to take control. And you sort of recognize that, and then your focus is so laser focused, and you just keep getting what you want. So long story short, that when I was able to master my mindset to that level, I was able to not care about the external validation, really. I mean, a little bit's nice. We all like being complimented, but it wasn't my driving force. I'm my own driving force.
Yeah, I'm very impressed with that, mainly because comparatively, I see it a lot as well. Like, you know, our age now, people are either doing really well or they're still in the same rut. There's no in between anymore. I feel like you either make that switch and have a go or you don't. And regardless of whether you have a go and fail, the mindset is so focused on, I'm not going to fail. I'm not going to fail. I'm not going to fail. When I met Ryan, my mindset was, it didn't matter what I had to do, where I had to get it from. Somehow, one way or another, I was going to be successful. My family were going to be proud. That was what I was going to do. And regardless of whether or not that was it didn't matter. To be honest, like, it did not matter how. I just needed to find something that I was doing that I loved. And what I like about what you were saying is being present. One thing I still struggle with sometimes is separating myself from social media and the real world. Like, you get so caught up in social media is how I make my money. You know what I mean? Like, the fact of the matter, it's funny you said Blank Canvas. My business is called Blank Canvas. So
there you go.
Our business is actually called Blank Canvas Investment Group, and essentially the name come from the fact that two of us are fully tattooed and two of us are blank. So we figured that those two were the blank canvas, and with Pino and Picasso, we were the finished canvas. So we called ourselves the Blank Canvas Investment Group, which was pretty cool. But I look at life a lot like that now. I use it a lot of the times, similar to what you did, and say, you know, this is a fresh start. This is ready to go again. And being present is one thing still today, as well as we go in our business life, as well as I'm going, you know, with my business and family and stuff like that. Being present is still the hard thing for me. That's still what I struggle with and battle with. So I might have to read that book. What's it called? The Power of Now?
The Power of Now. Yeah. By
another good one on that's Emotional Intelligence 2.0. Have you read that, Dani?
I haven't actually. 2.0.
I don't know. I can't remember who the author is. Yeah. So the first one was a good book, but the second one takes a whole new level of it. And because that was my biggest problem is I can, like, and Akko's the same. That's sort of how we became friends, was my emotions are so high that any room I walk into, I can change. You know what I mean? Like my vibe, my aura will change a room, and 90% of the time it's good, but when it's bad, right? So I read that book around that, and it's all internal stuff. It's all about, you know, how to move. Because the other thing with Akko, with his Instagram that he's going through now, that I went through and I'm sort of on the other end, I'm good now, is Akko's all in or not. You know what I mean? Okay. Like, there's no middle ground. So on Instagram, when he's all in, it's all like he's getting a lot of good results, but the family's not getting the time because he's just heads in the socials, and he's trying to find that balance. And I think we've all been there, we all get there, but books like that really, really help. It's like the best part I love about what you're saying here, Dani, is we say it all the time, you know, training your body is so second nature to the community now. Like, even though people don't do it, we know that you need to do it. Now we're getting on that trend of now people need to understand they need to train their mind the same way, you know? And I think what you just said is the exact answer to the question I asked, that those people that I've grown up with that have gone down that toxic route, because they get so encompassed in their body is who they are, and don't focus on the mind. And without that body, what do you become? What do you have? And, you know, there's so many things we're talking about, some things I'm getting tested for at the moment, and there's so many things out there that could take that physical away from you. You need to make sure that you're good up here. Otherwise you lose your identity and lose who you are very, very quick.
Yeah, it is dangerous to identify with your body, but naturally as humans we do, particularly if it is fueled by validation from other people. But then, you just need to learn how to validate yourself. You know, easier said than done, and it is a practice, it is an art, but self-validation and not having expectations on other people, like, that was a real game changer for me.
That's the game changer for me in my relationship was that as well, was the fact that, you know, for a long time I had everything worked out in my personal life where I was good on my own, and the only thing missing was a partner, because I was told by society that's what I needed, right? So when I then found my wife and did choose that person, it was then like, well, you're supposed to make me happier. And it's the wrong mindset. The mindset is supposed to be, you're happy yourself, she's happy yourself, you come together, you make a team. But for a long time, my mindset around that was, well, you're supposed to make me happier. When I'm down, it's your job, but it's not. You know what I mean? The fact is, if you're not happy within yourself, it's never going to work. And I've come to that fruition in probably the last 12 months. And since that, there's been massive change in regards to the way I look at different things. Ryan's a little bit of a marriage counselor on my behalf. Like, Ryan's my therapist. So I don't really talk to a lot of other people, but he's been married for quite a long period of time for someone at his age. He's been through a lot of the stuff that I progressively went through the last 12 to 24 months. Okay. So on his end, we're very similar. We're very dominant people. he can sort of turn around and say to me, hey, listen, you're fucking wrong.
Mm,
And I'm like, what do you mean I'm wrong? You're my mate. You can't tell me I'm wrong. He's like, you're wrong. You're fucking wrong. Your wife's right. You're wrong. And I'm like, oh, fuck, all right. Cool.
yeah.
I'm going to go find better friends.
Yeah.
Someone that tells me what I want to hear.
Well, that's what a real good friend does. They do catch you out on your shit every now and then. So, yeah,
You'll be
but it is
catching these
important.
hands if he keeps going.
Not fucking daily, babe. You're not supposed to catch me out on my shit
Daily. And that is important, you know. I wasn't in a relationship for 6 years, and that actually coincided. So I ended my first relationship that was a little bit, you know, restrictive. When you're young, you just do stupid shit, and then started competing right off the back of that. I'm like, fuck this, you know, I'm gonna be so powerful and just be go go go. It's all about me. Did my competing, and then, you know, I sort of had the vision, well, someone's going to slow me down. If I find someone now, they're going to slow me down. And that was a story I was telling myself for 6 years based on that old fear. So kind of, you know, similar to your situation, but also not really. You know, once you, yeah, I'm going on a tangent.
Same, but opposite.
Same, but the exact opposite. That could be the new Thailand slogans on the t-shirt.
Be you, but not you. Right? That's Danny's thing.
Oh God. But yes, once you are happy in yourself and realize that someone else isn't there to make you happy or make you anything, that's when you can, draw someone in and have a better relationship. From what I'm not married, I don't know, but that's what I've found so far.
I think on that note as well, like I get a lot of questions. Sorry, I sound like an influencer. I get a lot of questions. I get no questions
about your daily skincare routine.
Zero. But I get like from I'm talking friends and family, like in-person questions, right? Like I get groups and they ask me, because I was a big style of training that I used to do. It's a big switch up to then go to powerlifting. I'm not a powerlifter. I lift compounds. I run that session and then I kickbox, right? They're my two things. That's what I enjoy doing, and that's how I go. And the thing that I've really realized, because I probably had an image disorder, I guess, like my whole life. Like I've been training since I was 15. I was a chubby, fat kid that was, you know, those kids that are really fit. So I was a swimmer, right? So I was really fit, really good at sport, but I was fat. Like I just didn't know what I was doing. And, like that. And then I started training at 15 and I got shredded. Like I got jacked and shredded, and I was like best rigged, strong for my age. I went from being this fat, chubby, nerdy kid to having a rig, being strong, and I maintained that for a long time. And when I lost my purpose after leaving the army, my body slipped because I no longer had the motivation. Like I aligned myself with my image. That's what I did. And the reason I fell in love with training again and fell in love with powerlifting was because it removed all of that. I was able to see my body as a vehicle for a purpose. Like my body is there to lift this weight. And like I eat a lot and I'm a bit higher body fat percentage than I probably should be. But for me, I've become really comfortable with what I was, being thicker and bigger, because it was no longer about this unhealthy opinion of my body. It was actually, when I trained, there was a number and there was a purpose behind it. There was a physical action rather than just looking in the mirror and being like, oh, I don't really like that side of me, you know? So
absolutely. And that's why a lot of people go from bodybuilding to powerlifting, because bodybuilding is very overwhelming. And if there are any areas that you're not strong in mentally, it would be heightened. A lot of people think when they do bodybuilding, all their problems will be solved. Well, no, all your problems will be amplified. And it's a rude shock if you haven't been
happy about it. So we're going to go into a bit more specifics now on the hindsight. Now, just for everyone watching, in case all four of yous, in case.
Thanks, Mum. Hi, Mum.
Two of them are me.
Like, does your mum know how to use YouTube?
Oh no, I don't know. They don't know what I do. My parents still don't know what I do.
My mum goes to me, your sister sent me this funny, weird link. I clicked on it and it was these cartoons of these two big head guys. She showed me, it's the Wealth Cartel cartoon. I go, that's my podcast, you fucking idiot. Watch. And she's like, oh, that doesn't even look like you. Oh my God, they've made you look really muscly. Your face is a lot rounder than. I'm like, fuck off, Mum. Like,
brutally
they made
honest.
Ryan's, and then she started watching it. She actually enjoys it. My mum is actually, to be completely honest, one of our viewers. Like, she enjoys their content. She likes it, which is cool.
Good. Shout out to your mum.
Shout out to
Rex.
Rex.
I got in trouble after the first one. We were a bit lit on the first one, Danny.
Were you?
A bit too far.
Oh, fuck. It took us like 4 hours to record it, and we had like we're drinking straight scotch and necking beers
Yes.
for the first 40 minutes of the podcast, and then we got blind. We had to cut all this shit out so our fucking wives couldn't see it. It was bad.
Oh, there you go. Sherelle and I have been doing it wrong then.
That's
No,
right.
you've been
Don't
doing
do
it right. Don't do it.
You can progressively see me throughout things just start slurring harder and harder. It's horrible. I think that was the actual turning point to where I decided to go sober. But
there you go. That'll do it.
So to anyone who's watching who's not sure, so we're out. We call this thing the Wealth Cartel podcast. Obviously, from our background, cartel fits in pretty good, but also from the wealth perspective. So when we talk about wealth, we're talking. Everyone focuses on being rich. That's their idea of success, because that's a load of shit. Especially in my industry, I've met hundreds of people that have loaded financially and are miserable as shit. And we want to focus on, you only get one crack at this thing called life, and we want to make sure that you're living it to the best of your ability. And we find, generically speaking, the three core components to being wealthy or happy is money, lifestyle, and health, right? With those three things, if you can balance those things appropriately, it sort of encompasses everything that can give you that happiness. We've got to be realistic. You need money to live. But understanding how much time you should be spending on earning money for your peak level of happiness versus just trying to make money for the sake of it, being able to balance your lifestyle. We're only on, that's what we go to work for, to have a good lifestyle. And for a lot of us, especially us three, we're very lucky that our jobs are our lifestyle, so it can incorporate part of that. And then the last one is health. The craziest, the biggest thing that I get from my retirees and people at the end of their life is always, I wish I looked after my health more. That was the thing, that if you don't have your health, you can't enjoy any of the rest. So that's what we think the big three kings. So we're going to go into that a bit, Dani. The first question I'm going to start off and ask you is just get the materialistic one out of the way. If we talk about money, being that sort of exactly what I just talked about in relation to that, what are some big things looking back on your life that you did really well or did really poorly, or that you would look back and go, you know what, if I could tell someone to do that differently? And let me preface with, the hard part about this conversation is that everything we have all done got us to where we are today.
Yeah.
Right. So we're all going to say, I'm glad. But if we could go back, what are some things that you would identify that maybe that's a consideration someone needs to take in relation to money? And it can be both good and or bad. You can do both if you want, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, for sure. So what I've really had to overcome the past couple of years was my mindset around money and my limiting beliefs around money. Growing up, my parents provided me with a lot, but we weren't super wealthy. So we had to be conservative, and they came from sort of a state of lack. So then I grew up thinking, we have to hold on to money, like it's not easy to get. And so I started having those beliefs in my subconscious. You just hear the same thing over and over again as a kid. It stems into your adulthood until you catch it out. So I also not only thought that money was limited in this world, I also had a guilt to earn more than my parents for some reason. I kind of thought, well, who am I to earn more than them? And
now, hang on, Dani, your background's Greek, yeah?
Yeah, Dad's Greek, Mum's Dutch.
We just had this conversation.
Yeah.
This morning or yesterday, yeah.
Yeah, so my offsider who works with me, Izzy, he's from across that part of the world as well. And exactly the same thing from that ethnic background, exactly the same thing about his parents.
Yeah, look,
I'd never heard of that previously to yesterday either. Never in my life had I ever heard of that until yesterday. Now it's twice a day. That's crazy.
Well, yeah, they did the best that they could. A lot of people came from the villages in Greece, and they, had to share the one toy. And so then I can understand how that mindset gets passed on. Until I was able to work out those beliefs that I had and reframe my mind, then I was able to slowly turn things around. But I got to a point, it was only recently, 2019 in October, I was competing on the Gold Coast and I ran out of money. I literally had zero. I went to buy something and my show was in 2 days and declined. I'll try the other card, declined. Fuck. I've literally got negative dollars in my bank account. I had to, as a 27-year-old, call my mum and borrow. She's like, hey, Dani, how's the show going? I'm like, really good, mum. I need a couple of $100. I've literally run out of money. She's like, what do you mean? She's like, I've run out of money. And that was one of the most embarrassing, lowest points I've ever had, to have to ask my poor mum, who works damn hard, to borrow money. And then I'm like, right, I'm smarter than this. I'm working so damn hard, but I didn't appreciate money. I had all these limiting beliefs. I would just spend it on stupid things without budgeting. And then I came back again, got another mentor, because I'm like, right, I need help with this shit. Like, I'm so educated and I know how to make money, but I can't hold on to it. Really started honing in on what skills do I have? What can I change? I ended up working for myself. Now, a lot of people think working for yourself and leaving your employer is a recipe to, make less money. Well, no, I had the skills. I'm like, right, I'm just going to make more money for myself. I left both my jobs and just started my business and just started and went on.
Just a disclaimer, just a quick disclaimer. You're all not Danielle Antonellos. Don't all rush off and leave your job.
Oh, yeah, whoops.
And but no, I
was in the position to do so.
Definitely, no. I'm sorry to cut you off. I just had this chat with Ryan because I'm the same. I did the exact same as you.
Oh, there you go.
But I know a lot of people, entrepreneur-wise, that they can't make it, and that the fact of the matter is being the CEO of whatever company they can be. That's just as good, if not better, sometimes than being yourself. But in your position in that state, you must have just known within your head, this is what I've got to do.
I knew, but I put in the groundwork. I've been working my whole life for other people. I've been learning skills and I was well equipped enough to do it. That was just, and I was always going to do it, but that was just the point that was like, right, you just got to take that leap. Like, and I did have mentors and people helping me, but yeah, I'm not saying for everyone to do it, but for me personally, I could make more money working on my own. And that's what changed it. So yeah, when it comes to money, a lot of it was mindset, but then also just paying attention to your numbers. I started writing down what I would spend, started setting myself goals. Okay, if I have this many clients, I'll earn this much money. So I was so disciplined in training and nutrition, but when it came to money, I just let it go. I would just tap my card like it was nothing. So I had to apply those principles to money in order to draw more in.
I just sent you 5 ebooks, Dani. So I just sent you 5 of my money ebooks for you to share with your level up guys and that, because that is, you nailed it on the head, right? Ours go in order from mindset to cash flow to lifestyle planning, etc.
Yep.
And it can take people 15, 20 years to do it, just to get on top of that basic shit. And realistically, that's the stuff we should be learning at school. So absolutely. I just looked that across to you. Have a read, see if you think it's any good, and share it around with your group if you feel, because I feel that there's a big gap in the market with money where people think I either need to be shit at it or I need to pay thousands of dollars for a financial advisor, right? And the reality is there's a hole in the market, and that's what we try and develop with our Wealth Cartel community and that kind of thing, is filling those gaps in with basic stuff. So have a look at those, see what you think. But I think you've answered that absolutely perfectly.
Yeah, so I was able to get out of that hole, and now I'm looking to buy my first house 2 years later. Not to show off, but just to give a bit of credibility. I didn't want to end the story of people thinking I still had $0 in the bank account. That'll lose the credibility for this. But yeah, and just not being so fixated on the number, but just fixated on the service that I was giving. So I was able to charge more. So I put more work into what I can offer, so I could sort of still work a shit ton of hours, but also charge more as well. So that came into it too. And that really helped.
Increase your value, right?
Increase your value. Yeah.
Cost is what you pay, value is what you get.
There you go. Exactly right. So yeah, it was an interesting time.
Did you just come up with that one then? Did you just come up with that then? Cost.
Been using that for years, bro. Day one stuff. That is. See, this is where we differ. It's where we differ. I'm a different level, bro. Don't start.
Fuck off.
So, Dani, now moving into your area of expertise, health, right? Both physical and mental. Looking back, what are some things that you did really well or that you didn't, that you'd go back and change because you're seeing how important it is? Like, I know for me, warming up and stretching and mobility was huge, and I used to be able to just go straight into a main set. Now I've got to warm up for my warm up, right?
Yeah.
So from a physical and a mental point of view, what have you got for us on that front?
Yeah, so in terms of health, just to play off the back of what you were talking about, I did not see the value in doing the floor work, as you guys were saying earlier, until I ended up just using my lower back for a lot of the movements, ended up being injured. As a bodybuilder, my glutes weren't developed. So then, did they turn the music up in the background? Is that a bit loud?
That's fine. We love it.
That's good. You love it? Okay. I'm just out of the gym here. So yeah, I was able to really see the value in activations before I would train. and that would help my compound lifts.
Well,
Healthier now.
Yeah, for sure. So from the physical element, there's no quick fixes, no matter what anyone thinks. Being a young girl, I thought less food and more exercise was the best way to lose weight. More and more now we're becoming more educated and knowing that it may work for short term, but not for the long term. And it's not healthy. It can wreck your hormones. It ruins your mindset. So anything that you can't sustain forever is not worth doing at all. So that was a very big lesson and something I'm very passionate in teaching. When it comes to training, there's a reason why I'm so passionate about, activations and moving well, despite people thinking it be boring. I always say to my clients, I don't wake up and get so passionate to do a side plank, but I wake up and get so passionate to pull a heavy deadlift, to squat like a boss, to do all those things, and they go hand in hand. But I didn't learn the value of pre-activating until I ended up, hurting my lower back or not having my glutes developed well for the stage. So then I learned from Andrew Locke. He taught me his activations. I applied them in my training. I was able to hit PBs and change my body composition as well and be injury free. So yeah, they're probably the main key takeaways. There's no quick fixes, and just bloody do your activation, guys. Even you too. It's worth it.
I'm trying. The one I love at the moment is the so part of his big three. So the one where you lay down. So for your hip activation for deads and squats, so where you lay down, cross your ankle over your other ankle, and you do the pelvis raise essentially.
The clam.
The clam, yeah.
You're lying on your side, the lock clam.
Yeah, the lock clam.
He doesn't even know how to do it, so he doesn't do it. He's full of shit. He doesn't
Bro, you laugh at me every time I do it. Don't start.
Yeah,
both do it. You can both send me videos of you doing it.
Wow,
I've actually got an activation at the moment where I tried to show Ryan the other day, and it's the only thing that makes my back feel better.
Yeah.
What would that thing be called, Ryan?
I don't know. You only activated
you've got
your membership not long ago.
You've got your band, and you pull your band to your chest, sort of step out so you got a bit of tension, and then press out and then hold it.
Press and all that stuff. I'll show you some of our stuff. Let us know. Because I've got mad lower back pain and I've got no glutes. So whatever can fix those. We'll get those glutes nice and strong.
Sounds good.
Yes.
Danny, quick question on one thing you said, which I've always been a fan of, is don't do something you can't sustain forever, right? Now, challenging thought on that. How do you maintain that mindset when you do bodybuilding prep?
Yeah, as I was saying that, I'm like, this is going to come back. So I'm glad you brought that up, actually, because it is sort of contradicting.
I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah. I think we're all thinking it. And as I was saying it, I'm like, I'm thinking this. Very good. So that actual physical act of getting to such a low body fat is not sustainable, but the mindset that you get to go into that safely is sustainable. So it's not about thinking, as I said earlier, all life's problems will be fixed when you get to, stage. You have to master your mindset and be so strong mentally to be able to take yourself through that. So I suppose the only consistency there would be your mind. But again, you shouldn't deviate too much. It's not about an extreme weight gain and then extreme weight loss for stage, extreme weight gain. Most of us maybe 5-6 kilos, which is still a lot, particularly as a woman.
But percentage-wise, it's not huge, as large as saying it like that. It's 5 to 6% maybe.
That's right. So yeah, I'd say so. I haven't had my body fat tested before. But yeah, so you don't want to deviate too much. So there still is that level of consistency. I just know when it's time for comp, I put my foot down a little bit more exercise, a few less calories. It's nothing extreme. So yeah.
Yeah, we had this conversation. We got a mate at the gym where we train every morning, Terry, and I think it's his second comp this week. He won last week. He got a gold, silver, and a bronze, and he's in the natural. What is it? IFBB or something? I don't know. The natural.
Nah, not IFBB. He's in the natural one.
The other one.
So used to be NABBA.
Oh yeah.
So he's there doing that, and he's going through the struggle at the moment. He's shredded, like when he's not even competing, he's shredded, right? Compared to normal person, just strided to the piss house, and he's coming down to like some ridiculous, but he looks like good, but he's real gaunt and stuff, and he's struggling now because he's like he puts on a couple of kilos and he's like, oh, I'm fat, and it's like, bro, you gotta understand what's sustainable, what's not, because that's not healthy.
Yeah.
That's not
no.
healthy.
Not at
He
all. And
actually
that's why I
said
say not
too.
everyone should compete. Not everyone should
He actually,
compete at all.
he actually said too. Mindset wise, like I lived with a bodybuilder for 12 years. My mum's ex-partner, my sister's dad, was a IFBB pro bodybuilder,
Mm,
and he was a weapon. But when he used to get depleted, when he used to get down to that low percentage body weight, he was a nightmare to be around. Like, because he would be 145 walking around and then competing
yeah.
at 115. Whereas
Mm,
this Terry dude, like, he's saying he actually feels more energy, like lean, 3 or 4 days out from the show than he did heavier like 2 weeks prior. And I'm like, how is that working, man? And he said, well, because I don't fluctuate so much. I
yep.
don't really get too heavy. I only really drop fat, like water. Like, I don't really drop a lot of fat. Like, I don't
Yep.
carry a lot of fat. I don't try to. All I really do is jump on the stepper extra and try and do 500 extra calories a day. Like, I don't really
Mm-hmm.
change too much, you know. He's
Yep.
talking about he ate a slice the other day, ate this caramel slice. I'm like, bro, are you competing in a week and a half? He's like, yeah, man, I just train really hard. I work really hard, and
Mm.
I'll make sure I can have that today, and I'll just make sure I'll do my 500 calories tomorrow, and I'm good. I was like, bro, that's like 3,500 calories. You're not getting that off in one step. But he's like, when you look at him, he's incredible, eh? Like, he's got a real good physique, and he feels better lighter. And I'm like, man, I mean, I'd feel better lighter, but I'm currently 20 kilos overweight. It's probably different when you're down at that, you know.
Yeah, there are definitely healthy and safe ways to do it. I'd never do it if it jeopardized my health. But a lot of people think that that's how you do it. Well, it's different whether you're a guy and natural and unnatural composite. It's all different. And from a woman's point of view, it's not worth jeopardizing your health. And you can do it in a way. I'm not going to say that is sustainable at that last level, but if like a month out, that is sustainable if you do it right. And it comes with being well informed, giving yourself enough time to shred down and lose that weight. And then also, mindset. Everything comes down to mindset as well.
Yeah, I think I love that you said that, because that's what I was explaining to my wife why I want her. What I've noticed, like I listen to your podcast a fair bit. Obviously, there's some pretty uncomfortable topics for me because I'm not a female, but it's really it helps me a lot with my wife, and from that
good.
perspective, and the amount of hormone discussions you guys have, and how much for a woman, how much training and diet affects hormones, and how much they can struggle with it long term is amazing. Like, it's crazy stuff you don't think about, you know.
You don't, and it's such a taboo thing, and guys still get a bit squirmish about it, but we're trying to normalize it. It's important for you to be able to talk to your wife about that and all of that. So that's what we're really making known, because it's still sort of getting swept under the rug. But that's why we keep bringing it up on our podcast to say this is what happens.
And they bring it up. They don't hesitate.
Sherelle more than me. She's really taken on the women's health. I still keep it sort of rehab type stuff, but we love it. We have fun.
Cheryl's brutal.
Yeah.
Cheryl don't give a shit.
No, that's it.
I feel like I'm a little bit different to that though. I got 3 little sisters and my mom, and I grew up in a household full of women. So the whole nesting, all of the cycles syncing up, I knew about that shit when I was 13 years old. Like, I've understood that for a long time, which has made it a lot easier for me to speak to my missus and enjoy it though.
All right, so Danny, on the mental health perspective, do you have anything to add on that front for the same question?
More just whether it's a bodybuilding show.
I know you said mindset. You keep mentioning mindset.
Yeah.
From a more in-depth mental perspective.
Mental, I suppose anything that we choose to do, we should not punish ourselves for it. I mean, like, a lot of people resent what they're doing when they're choosing it, and that's been something that I always catch myself out on in other people. Well, if it's such a shit time, change the situation. Like,
be conscious about it.
Be conscious about it. Absolutely. Whether it be a bodybuilding show, whether it be your career, if you are in control of it, then either choose to have fun or change what you're doing as well. So that's sort of been the backbone of any decision that I make in life as well, and recognize, hang on, no one's really forcing me to do anything. I'm choosing this life. I can either let it serve me or not, and choose to let it serve you.
Even on the negative, we speak about that on the other side of things, where Ryan was saying, he got to a stage in his life where he understood he was a party boy, but he was so conscious, like so self-conscious about the fact that he knew on that Friday night, you know what, I'm gonna party tonight, so I'm gonna tell myself it's okay to do this, and tomorrow I'm not gonna wake up and resent it. And a lot of people have this problem, myself included, where I'm like, no, I'm not drinking tonight. And then I'm like 3 Cokes in and the boys are partying. I'm like, oh, I'll just have one. And then by 4 a.m. next morning, I'm cross-eyed in the mirror and I'm like, fuck, why did I do this? And there was no consciousness about it.
Yeah.
And you can look at it in regards to a party sense, you look at it in regards to a business sense. The fact of the matter is everyone in some way, shape, or form, if they're conscious about the decision they're making, it's easier to then withstand the decision. You know what I mean? If you say, right, I'm going to party Friday night and I'm going to be hungover Saturday and I'm not setting my alarm till midday, but I'm going to get up and feel like shit. I know that, so I'm not planning anything.
Yeah.
You're probably going to be okay with the fact that you've made that decision. But if you're not conscious about it and you wake up Saturday, you've got shit to do, you shouldn't have done it, you didn't want to do it, then you're punishing yourself in the next 2 or 3 days. The same as what you do in business. If you don't make a conscious decision about what you're doing, you then punish yourself, and you've just got to be upfront with yourself and be honest with yourself. Who gives a fuck if you lapse for a day, but just tell yourself you're going to do it.
Yes, exactly right. There's nothing worse than saying you're not going to do something and then feeling as though you went against your own morals. Like, just back yourself. If you back yourself with the best hangover or the worst hangover there is, say I'm going to have a fucking shit hangover on Saturday, but at least you've chosen to do it, then you'll feel better about it.
I got a mate of ours so what he'll party and he'll tell himself he's going to party. And then on the Saturday, he'll make this plan like, I'm going rainforest walking Parksy, right? Like my mate, he'll big bender Friday and be like, fuck it, Saturday morning, I'm going on this rainforest walk, and he will do it. He guarantees by midday he's better. And I'm like, nah, no way. He's like, nah, man, I swear to God, if I make the decision to do it and I go out of my way to do it, it fixes me. So laying in your bed feeling sorry for yourself is not going to fucking help. Yeah, exactly, which I tend to agree with, but I still lay in bed and feel sorry for myself.
It's the same thing, right? Shit in, shit out. Right? I say to people all the time, stop doing the same shit over and over again and expect a different result. Like, you can't put the same ingredients in a blender and just think you're going to get a different shape coming out every time, So
exactly,
being conscious of what you're doing and understanding that, if you want things to change, you need to change what you're doing. It's as simple as that.
Yep.
All right, so this is Akko's piece. This is his, out of everything he's good at, the lifestyle section, right? So, Danny, we know that as we get older, we always look back and think, if I always sort of wake up every morning. Part of my gratitude, I think, if I was to die today, did I fulfill what I wanted to fulfill yesterday, and would I be happy with it? And that's something that's really changed my life. And half of that comes from, so many people think, oh, I've got a plan for in 10 years, I'm going to be good. But what if you don't make it there? It's a waste of time. So how do you, or what have you done well or poorly that you've learned to now looking back, balance that lifestyle and make sure you're enjoying and living every day to the fullest while balancing everything else you got to do?
Yeah, for sure. So I was trapped in the grind for a very long time, and always being trapped with appointments time after time, patient, studying. Everything was very time orientated until, again, I had to sort of reflect and say, wow, I'm just trapped in a time warp and I'm not allowing myself to have as much fun anymore. I did have fun, in uni and all of that, but then getting out into the workforce, I would get up early, work, go home, do it all again. Until, I earned my stripes, put in the hours. As I said earlier, was able to change my career direction. But then for me, the biggest thing was changing my environment as well. I literally just sort of overhauled everything, moved out of home, which goes against, again, grow up, save for a house, stay at home as long as possible, then buy. Well, no, I went out, I rented, put myself in my own space. I was living by myself, and then I was able to thrive in my own environment. So I mentioned, people that you hang around with, but then also your own environment has to serve you as well. So having that lifestyle where I was, again, in control with an open space, I was able to just think and create and come up with new ideas and slowly get myself out of that time trap. I still have tendencies of it now. Like, I'm still appointment orientated. It's just, we have to run off time. But I always prioritize, downtime, time with my new partner, time with friends, time just for me and no one else, and setting those boundaries. Like, I'm not going to start work. I have the luxury now. I can choose my hours. Doesn't mean I work any less. I'm always working. But I've been disciplined to set my non-negotiable hours and fill that with, something that's not just work orientated. So I found that that's able to keep me fresh and healthy and avoid burnout as well, because I've been so close so many times in the past. I think setting personal boundaries is just number one.
Is your partner within the bodybuilding scene?
Yes.
Yeah,
I always thought I wasn't going to go for someone in the industry, but then no one else would understand my life.
That's why I asked, because I find I've got so many friends that have said, no, it's not my thing. It's not my type. I want to be fit, but I'm not too fussed on a big juice head, or I'm not too fussed on this. There's always this conversation, but then they're the only type of people that really understand the sacrifices, the downtime, the amount of time you work.
Yeah.
I feel like in my perspective in my life as well, the reason my wife and I used to really battle was I was really entrepreneur minded, and she was like, you work too much. And I'm like, that's what I do. This is what I do. You know, I mean, we battled with that a long time. And I feel like people that are so used to going to work, having set 6 to 8 hours, being able to come home, forget their work, you know, it's finished. My work doesn't finish.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, my phone is round the clock. Friday to Sundays is the busiest time for me. I have 50 staff that rely on me. And I chose this life, so I'm going to do it. And I feel like in your world, that's one of the things I strongly feel like is it takes two in that life to be able to live it together. I really do believe that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or at least someone that's understanding of the life.
Yeah. And until I found someone that did understand, you know, a lot of people, you know, young guys, they see the photos and photo shoots that I would have done, and they're like, yeah, that's cool, let's meet up. And then they would try and they wouldn't respect all the processes that got me to that end result. I'm like, you think Netflix and chill got me on stage fucking doing all these things? Like, no, I'm different to other people. Like, and that was what I was going through for like so long. Like,
that's
no.
the best comment. That is the best comment so far to be on the podcast, because I agree with that. I agree with it. People think there's no process to how you feel and how you look, and there's no process to being able to get on stage, and there's no sacrifice, and you're just going to be able to hang out 4 days a week out of the 7 and still be the same body shape and body figure, and it just doesn't work like that. People just don't get it.
Exactly.
And it's crazy. And you got to have that. When my wife went through a bit of, because she's always been fit. We've always tried. We met at the gym, right? And she went through a bit of a slump. And we started the conversation, and she'd be like, she got really insecure because she'd be like, you go into the gym to look at these other women. I'm like, no, that's not the thing, babe. And the thing that we connected over originally was, it's got nothing to do with the outcome. And I think that's the difference, right? Like the guys you're talking about, Dani, they see the outcome, they don't understand the process. I get attracted to the process. If I see the outcome, I know that you've stuck to something, you've put the work. I know the work, and it's classic. Females think, if I lift weights, I'm going to get too big. But, you know, you've been lifting weights for how long? I've been lifting weights for how long? I'm still not too big, right? So,
I'm waiting for that day.
And so when you see, like when I saw my wife, before she's my wife, when I saw her training, I was like, it's not the outcome. It's I know the grind and I know the dedication you're putting into it. And that's what's hot for me. You know, that's what used to, and I think it's really important you find someone that makes sure that you're on the same level of that, because, even not only from partners, from friends as well.
Yeah.
And you got to set your boundaries. You nailed it with the boundaries. You got to set those boundaries, because it can be your undoing. You can fall into that trap very, very quickly.
Yeah, that's it.
Agreed.
All right. So to finish up, we've got 2 sections left. It'll go really quickly. But to wrap everything up, Dani, I want to know like a little summary of like a little sentence, right? Like a little quote or whatever, that if you could go back to you 10, 15 years ago, and what would you say to yourself to make sure that you could get to sort of where you are faster, or to make sure that you live those 15 years with the best lives you could live? How would you summarize all that up into a sentence and say to your younger self?
Yeah, for sure. So I would reward myself for all the hard work and know that it would pay off. Everything you're doing serves a purpose now, but then don't be so hard on yourself. Don't be so hard on yourself, because if you come from a good place, it's all going to work out. So yeah, keep working hard and give yourself a bit of a break every now and then. That's what I'd say.
Yeah. But do you reckon she would have listened? No way.
Nah. She wanted to be the best at everything. She still sort of does.
That's the hard part. Is we're trying to make it so that we say things to younger people, but in a way that they listen, because how many things did people tell us? You know what I mean? And you go, yeah. And now you're like, you're right.
If I had listened to that bloke about that Bitcoin,
Yeah, far out, right?
Yeah. No,
Buy
no
shares
crypto.
early.
I
No
had to
crypto
say that
chat on
'cause
here,
I
baby.
had to say that because I knew he was going to spit the dummy that he's not a fan of these. We've got where
Hey,
I'm,
you're twisting my words. I'm not a fan of nothing.
nah, I'm an
I'm
influencer
a fan
now.
of
I'm going to
everything.
tell. I'm an influencer. I'm going to tell people how to make money now. I'm an influencer.
Yeah, that's what I had. All right, so finish up with the plug, Danny. You've gone through our agenda. You've told us done what we need you to do. So tell us what you're doing now. Who do you want to connect with that you can help or that can help you, business, personal, whatever, and what's next for you?
Yeah, so I love connecting with people who are in, the health and fitness industry, but also, like what you guys are doing as well. From a point of view, if anyone's in pain or wants to learn how to move, they can come see me or talk to me. If you're a professional in the industry and want a bit of mentoring, that's what I do as well. But then I'm always open to learn more and be mentored myself. What I'm doing now, I'm continuing to work online, grow my online business, and deliver seminars with Dr. Andrew Locke all around Australia. And then eventually, once the borders open up, worldwide as well. So if anyone wants to come down and learn about the glutes, my seminar is the way to go.
Give us a shout. What's your seminar called? How can they find it? How can they do all that stuff?
Yeah, so my Instagram with Andrew is United Health Education. There are full stops between each word. Or my Instagram, Dani Antonellos, ANTONELLOS. That's the best way to contact me.
We'll tag all this in the post anyway.
Fantastic.
What about your podcast? Give your podcast a shout.
And the Level Up. I see I do so many things. It's like plug this, the Level Up podcast. So Level Up with Sherelle and Dani. If you want to hear Sherelle, another like-minded individual, and I talk about women's health, fitness training, all the good times, listen to the podcast as well.
I'll put my wife on it that she enjoys that type of stuff. So
Well, there you go.
like
Yeah.
that.
Thank you.
Whereabouts are you based in Sydney?
Paddington. So Paddo Performance at the moment. Yeah, that's where you can find me.
Yeah, cool. We've got in regards to the fact that you do a lot of mentoring, you get a lot of people around and stuff like that. If you ever want to do a team building or something like that, get in touch and we'll tee something up with. I've got Penoma, North Sydney, which I think would work with you guys pretty well. So
Amazing.
let us know how we go, and we'll see if we can run a team building for you and see if I can steer some of my guys into you guys you that work for me out there as well.
That'll be great. Fantastic.
Cool.
Right, Dani, thanks so much for coming on. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thanks so much, guys.
We'll chat to you soon.
Amazing. Thank you.
Thanks, Dani. Cheers. Bye.
See ya.